So the other thing I didn't agree with that I saw you doing is when you
Here's the
do,
deal. No one really cares about your complaints. Just lay down the argument for God.
okay, you want an argument for God. Well, the reason I believe in God, but may I ask you before I do this, are you making the claim that God doesn't exist or is less likely to exist than exist? Or are you just saying you're 50-50?
My claim is your God doesn't exist. Who's your God?
Well, I'm a Christian, so I
Okay, so
believe,
my claim is that the Christian God doesn't exist.
okay. And are you claiming it's 100% certain it doesn't exist, or do you give him like 5% chance of existing?
0% chance.
Okay, what would be your argument for that?
Because it's a logical contradiction, and because the book that purports to be 100% true that comes from the God is full of things that are demonstrably untrue.
Okay, but the book could be completely false, yet the position true. Now, let's
So
look at
if
a
the book
deductive
was
argument from
completely
you.
if the book was completely false, how would you demonstrate that the Christian God is real?
You could know him just by direct experience and
Oh,
a
so
load of
so direct revelation. So if I had direct revelation from a spirit because I'm a Buddhist, say I get direct revelation from the spirit world that the Christian God is false, does that mean the Christian God is false?
doesn't mean it means you've got a justified reason to believe it.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so direct revelation
Okay,
is never going to be a winning argument because every religion's got that.
yeah, but that's you. You do understand that we know everything through non-inferential means, and then from that we build inferential arguments. You do recognize that.
I recognize that there's no good argument for the Christian God being real, which is why
Okay,
you want to do philosophy and you want to avoid the Bible.
well, I don't mind if you think it's a 50-50, then neither of us have a burden of proof. If neither of us making the claim, if I'm not making the claim he's more likely true than false, and if you're not making the claim he's more likely false than true, then we're both in the agnostic position,
No, I'm
right?
not
But if,
agnostic.
okay, I know, so you're making the claim, so you have a burden of proof. Can you give
No,
me a
my claim is
deductive
that
syllogism?
your specific God isn't real. My God is
Okay,
real.
okay, I believe. Okay, I believe what you're saying. Can you give me a deductive syllogism to show me 100% certainty it doesn't exist, and I'll look through the premises.
Yeah, we can just go through like a really easy argument that I know you're familiar with, and I know deep down in your heart you think you have an answer for it, but I know you don't. So let's go to the problem of natural evil. So do you
Mhm.
obviously you believe in the tri-omni God, don't you?
I believe he's more likely a trinity. Yeah,
No, tri-omni.
I'm not sure about the term.
So referring to having the attributes of the three different omnis, so omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient.
Yeah, and it depends. See, I would take him as what philosophers call the maximally great being. So not, so he would be maximally powerful, maximally benevolent, that sort of thing.
Okay, so he's not the omni God.
He's omni, because sometimes people say infinitely powerful, and I think they're using the word infinitely incorrect. If
Does
we
he
say
know all
max,
things?
I believe he knows all things that are able to be known.
Okay, what's not able to be known?
Any proposition that doesn't have a truth value.
So he doesn't know if something's false?
Well, if the proposition has no truth value, he can't know it. No one can know it.
Well, he knows it's false.
Well, no, because false is a truth value. So a proposition can
Does he
either be
know what you're
true.
thinking?
I believe he knows my thoughts. Yes.
Does he know the future?
Well, that's debated. If some people who hold to truth maker theory believe the future
I'm
does
asking what
have,
you
has,
believe. Do you believe
I
God
believe
knows
he
the
knows the
future?
future. Yes.
Okay, so you do believe in a God that does know all knowable things.
Yes, he knows, and I believe the future is a knowable thing.
Okay, and you agree with the Bible when it says in 1 John that God knows all things?
Well, I take the Bible to make some hyperbolic statements sometimes, but as far as that, I would say he'd be saying it in whatever means he believes it. But the way I believe it is everything that's knowable, he knows.
Well, it doesn't say everything that's knowable. It just says God knows all things.
Yeah, but he doesn't know, for example, there's a unicorn on Mars because that's not a true proposition or false. It's not a proposition that has any
No one's
reference.
asking if God believes false things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
So
you
anything
again,
that,
you keep making category errors. I don't know why you guys do
no, I'm
this.
not, because in
So no one's
philosophy,
asking you if God believes things that are not true.
yes, he believes everything. He knows everything that's true.
Okay, so God knows all things.
Yeah,
Fair
in a
enough.
sense.
Okay. Now, so if God is all knowing, do you believe that he can do all things, assuming all things are just the things that are logically possible?
Yeah, anything that's logically possible within his nature.
Logically possible. His nature is irrelevant.
Well, I don't think it's irrelevant, but I think his nature is the grounding of all reality.
Yeah, you'd
But
have to demonstrate that God existed before you demonstrated that everything is dependent on his nature. And again, you're going to muddy the waters. You're going to do your Philbro pettifogging on when we address his nature. But so for lack of clarity, we're going to say that God does in fact know all things, and he can in fact do all things that are possible.
correct.
Okay. And then you do also believe that God is all good, I would imagine, meaning he only does the thing that is best.
Yeah, he does what's for the greatest good. He does what's for the greatest good.
Fantastic. Okay. So does that entail then that the world that we live in is obviously the best world he could have created?
So you're going to use modal logic. I would say it's one of the best possible worlds, yes.
No, is it the best or is it one of the best?
Well, you won't want me to muddy it, so I'll just say the best.
Okay, so God couldn't have created a better world.
Well, I think he could have, but he wouldn't.
Would an all good God not do the best
world,
thing? It didn't take very long, did it?
No, I thought you. Sorry, I was reading a text. I thought you meant a different world. No, he could. If I say he's creating the best possible world, then he can't create a better world. Maybe one that's equally as good in a different sense, but no, it'd be the best. Sorry, I was actually reading a text while you were speaking to me.
Okay, so the world that we live in is the best possible world.
Yes, we'll say that.
Okay. Can an all good God then create the best possible world with unnecessary suffering?
So you're looking at gratuitous suffering. I don't believe. I believe that since we have suffering, and if I believe he's created the best possible world, that all the suffering, either in a direct or indirect sense, creates a greater good. So he couldn't.
Sure. Okay. So then natural disasters are required. They're necessary.
No. So if we look at gratuitous evil, there's two possibilities. Either every specific act of evil.
Is this a yes or no?
Oh, well, rephrase your question so I can hear it.
Were natural disasters necessary?
Well, I have a distinction between directly or indirectly, but I'll just say yes, and we'll maybe fall back on that later.
Okay, so what are they necessary for?
Well, they're a necessary part of the world to achieve this greater good.
So God couldn't do it without the natural disasters?
No, he couldn't do it without creating the world the way it is.
So then he's not all powerful?
The disasters are a runoff from that.
What's prohibiting God from creating the world without natural disasters?
So I believe the Lord created the world in harmony and unity, and there's been a fall, and what you're seeing are effects. Those effects could be implemented in many ways. What we're seeing it in the realm in which we live, we see it as natural disasters, natural evil. If we lived in a very different reality, it'd be different. But the fact is, there are consequences for things. That is, you can't have the fall and the sin and then no consequences. If there is an actual ontological effect of a cause and a fall, you have to have the effects of that. So what you'd be basically asking me in more root.
Listen, the more words you say right now, the worse it's going to look when you finish. So it's up to you.
Well, I've studied this quite in detail. I don't think it is, but go on then, crack on.
Okay. So the fall of Adam and Eve was inevitable?
Not inevitable, but
okay.
It happened.
Were the consequences inevitable?
The consequences from sinning, the offshoot, are inevitable from the cause.
So yes. God didn't decide what the consequences were?
He has steering room, but the way he created it, no, he could even create the world in a different way, then there'll be different.
So God's not all powerful?
He is all powerful, but if he made it more than one state and it fell,
who tied his hands behind his back and said that these have to be the consequences when sin happens?
Okay, so you're saying we could have a world with evil that are, but a different type of evil from the consequences.
I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is that the consequences that resulted from the fall were God's decisions. He wasn't required to make those decisions. Like when Adam and Eve fell, he could have did everything the same. He could have done every single thing the same and then just decided not to do natural disasters. He could have done that, right?
Well, I believe his presence departed from the earth, and that's why we're seeing the disharmony and disunity in the earth. He created man.
But did he create the earth to behave a particular way? Or did he not know what earth was going to do?
Yeah, he created the Earth to behave a particular way in this analogy. If Audi creates
So
a car to
is God
behave in a particular
omnipresent?
way and I crash it and now it behaves differently, that crash is why it behaves differently.
No.
But he,
God's the ultimate engineer. Like he knew ahead of time that the car was going to crash. He could have made the car completely uncrashable. He chose to make it crashable. He could have made the earth in a way that after Adam and Eve sinned, it didn't have natural disasters. He has that power, doesn't he?
well, I don't believe he could create a world that doesn't have consequences. How those
I didn't say
consequences-
anything about consequences. Try to
Okay, so
focus.
your-
I'm
your
talking
problem
about
is a
natural
specific thing.
disasters. I'm talking about a specific thing. Could he make the world after the fall without natural disasters?
Well, the way he's made the world, no. If he'd made it in a different way, yes, but then there would have been a different type of evil.
I agree. Okay, so God could have made the world without natural disasters, right?
Yes, but he couldn't make the world. Let me finish because you will jump in. He couldn't make the world that doesn't have some type of evil after the fall. How that evil
Why couldn't
comes
he?
about, who cares? Because the ontological consequence of it has to take effect.
So-
It's not possible.
So God doesn't
that there
have
can be
any
a
control
fall
over
with
the
no
earth.
effect. Well, what you're saying is,
So I want you to actually pay attention to what you're saying. You're trying to obfuscate the responsibility of God in what he did with the earth. You're saying, well, the earth is just, golly gee, it's just responding to people's decisions. The earth isn't sentient. The earth isn't responding to anything. The earth is doing what God tells it to do. God controls the wind. God controls the rain. God controls the floods. He controls all of it. He controls the weather.
well, I believe that had man not fallen, they would, because a natural disaster is only bad because humans are present. If it happens under the sea or something and it doesn't affect any of us, it's not a bad thing. Now, had there not been a fall, had there been no disharmony and disunity between man and God, and had we been living in harmony, there wouldn't be the issue of it. It's because there's a disunity and disharmony that now certain events.
No one's asking why you think they're here. We're asking whether or not they're necessary. And so far, we've determined that they're not necessary.
Well,
It's
they're
just
necessary from the
it's
fact
just
we
a
don't live in harmony
decision.
and
It's a
unity.
decision that God made.
Yeah, but the consequences of a disharmony and disunity are evil.
But that
Okay,
doesn't
they're
mean natural disasters. Like when if my son grows up and says, "Dad, I don't want anything to do with you," I'm not required to then send a tornado on his house. So
No, I'm not saying that
the introduction of sin has nothing to do with God creating natural disasters. It's just a decision that he made.
Okay, but you're thinking of natural disasters and the fact that God's controlling them specifically and directly. I'm thinking of them in the sense of God set something into motion, and that car has now had an accident. If we go back to the
But
analogy.
does God have control over what happens? If he knows
He can
if he knows
directly
the
intervene,
accident
yes.
is going to happen and he's all knowing, then that means he knew Adam and Eve was going to sin, which means he could have created the world in a way in which once Adam and Eve sinned, there wouldn't be natural disasters. They would have consequences that were just specific to humanity. There's no need for natural disasters.
No, but they would have had whatever the evils manifest as. You'd still be complaining in that other world of a different.
No, we're talking about natural disasters. Don't run away from it.
But I'm failing to see how one implementation of an evil is worse than another evil. If we implement it in a different way.
I'm sorry. Did Hitler killing 6 million Jews, is that one implementation of evil that golly gee we should look past now?
Well, that you changed categories because you said you wanted to talk about natural evils. Now you're talking about moral.
No, I'm demonstrating the silliness of your statement. You're saying, well, because God did this one bad thing, we should just throw God out the window. That's not how this works.
Because God did one bad thing, we should throw this out the window. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I'm pointing out something that is inconsistent with your God. And you're saying, no, don't look at this problem. Look at another problem.
No, I'm not saying don't look at this problem, look at another problem. You did that when you changed the Hitler analogy. You actually
you did that. My Hitler analogy was addressing your pivot.
No, because we were talking about natural evils.
I know, and then you said if there weren't natural evils, you would complain about something else, and then you started to whine about why I was picking on this one particular problem. So I'm picking on this one particular problem because it shows a contradiction in your worldview. That's why I'm using it.
Well, natural evils of a separate type, I meant,
They're not.
because what I'm saying is that God created man and the planet for a harmony and a unity, where
Yes.
the evils wouldn't harm the people,
This
that
always
everybody
goes.
would live
This
in.
goes over and over again. Okay, so we're back at the beginning of the circle. So if God created the planet in a way that it could be in harmony with mankind, then He could have created the planet that after mankind sinned, it didn't produce natural disasters. Could He have done that?
See, this is where that's the part where I disagree. I believe he could have created the planet in a way, maybe that the evils, the necessary evils that came, were implemented differently, but they would have been manifest in a separate way that would have still been equally an evil. Like
So
there
God
are,
has to do evil no matter what, though. So
well,
if mankind makes one sin, God has to indiscriminately murder 100,000 people a year. He has to do it.
well, I don't believe God's directly doing that. I believe
No,
there's
no,
a
he is
consequence.
directly doing it. He creates natural disasters.
Okay, so are you taking the position then that the movement of the wind, everything is directly controlled by God? Or are you taking the position that God set up something in motion and he permits it to carry on, maybe occasionally intervening, but for
No,
the most
he
part letting it run its
causes it
course?
to carry on. So the God created the world knowing it would have natural disasters. And
Hmm.
then once he realized there's going to be natural disasters, he said, okay, well, I guess we'll have natural disasters. Listen, I'm a machine designer by trade, okay? If I design a machine where, like, listen, if somebody accidentally starts my machine wrong, it's going to blow up and kill 4,000 people. If I put that machine into practice, I'm a bad machine designer, right? Because especially if I knew it. If I knew that was going to be the case, I'm a bad machine designer. So if God creates a world that he knows humans are going to sin, and he says, well, once human sins, we're going to create natural disasters and indiscriminately kill millions of people. He's a bad planet designer. He's not all good. He's not all powerful or all loving.
Well, I think the natural consequence of sin is death. And the fact is, we
Who
might
created
die by.
that? Who created the
Well,
consequence?
I believe that death is the consequence
Who
of sin.
decided the consequence?
Well, I believe it's ontologically
No, no,
necessary
no.
because we.
Who? It's a who. Who decided all consequences?
Well, I don't believe anyone decided them. I just believe they're necessary by the
So
nature of
God
things.
has no control. God can't decide to forgive people.
I believe he can forgive people, but even
What?
he has
What
to
a
do it
weak ass
through.
punk. God has no control. If somebody sins, he has to murder them. There's no way
No,
around it. No way
well,
around
no,
it.
you're coming across a bit intellectually dishonest, and
I'm
I'll
not.
explain why.
I'm trying to help
Because
you to understand how
no,
the
because
stuff that
this.
you're saying sounds good when you talk to your philosophy buddies. It sounds stupid when you talk to real people. When you talk to real
No,
people and you say, "Well, God didn't have a choice. God had to do something." You're creating another fault in your worldview. You're saying God's not all powerful.
no, that's not happening at all. Because what I'm saying is that first of all, let's go back to when you say, "Can God control everything?" No, God can't make himself
No,
a
can God
different type
control
of
what
God.
he does?
He can control his actions, yeah,
Can
but
he
that doesn't
control
mean
the
there aren't necessary.
consequences?
No,
So
he
God can't.
because
So when God punishes you, he has no control over the punishment.
yeah, he might have a control over the punishment, but he can't control that if he punishes me, I
Okay.
don't get
So
punished,
so
or I like it.
if God has control over the punishment, then he could have made the punishment everything without the natural disasters. He could have said, "Listen, you're going to have to work. Labor is going to be very difficult for you. You're going to sweat, by the sweat of your brow. You're not going to have free food all the time." But he didn't have to do the natural disasters. It's literally just a decision that he made.
Well, I believe the natural disasters are the consequence of a planet falling out of disharmony and
But
disunity
they're
with
not.
God and man connection.
But
But
they're
they
not.
are because
God
they wouldn't have
decided to
been
curse
natural
it.
disasters.
God cursed it. Genesis 3.
Yes, God cursed the land,
Okay, so
and
it's
I believe,
so it's not a ontological necessity. It's something God did.
yeah, but that cursing wasn't natural disasters, but we'll apply it to natural disasters. Um, the fact is, if you take that to mean that God directly did that, and I can understand why you can interpret it that way, then we'll go on that. But the way I take it is that God, by his cursing, he removed his presence, and the cursing is a result
Then
of that.
he's not omnipotent. He's not omnipresent then.
Well,
See,
you used
I
to be a
love
Christian.
this.
No, no, no. You say something.
I
No, you
love the
say
merry-go-round that Phil Bros get on. Every
no.
time we go to another spot in the merry-go-round, you debunk another one of the omni-properties of God. You make it way too easy.
Well, no. Do you know what I've noticed you do? You'll ask a rhetorical question, and then before you get my answer, you'll pretend you've got the conclusion. I'll tell you how we'll demonstrate this.
Is God omnipresent?
Well, we'll demonstrate this.
Is God omnipresent?
Write your premises down, and let's see if
Is God omnipresent?
Yes, he's omnipresent, but he manifests.
Then he's everywhere.
Okay, but you do recognize there's a difference in manifestation of presence, don't you?
No, you can't manifest your presence if you're omnipresent. You can manifest in other ways. Like you can manifest as a human being. You can manifest as a burning bush. You can manifest, as a floating axe head if you want to, according to some stories. But your presence is still everywhere.
Yes. Well, that's just a claim, but I would say this. I would say when we believe God is omnipresent, it's because we believe God sustains all reality.
So he's not everywhere.
His actual spirit, his actual tangible spirit, where you can experience him and relate.
So God's got a tangible spirit?
Well, I believe tangibly, incorporeally, it's not material.
What?
But tangibly.
Do you know what tangible means?
Yeah, well, I know technically. I'm using it more colloquially. Here's the thing. It's pretty easy to prove your case. I've got my screen open.
I know, it's really easy to prove my case. I know.
Okay, no. Rather than jumping around in circles, this is so easy.
But you're the one going. You're the one going in circles, not me. So my premise is very simple. You cannot be omnibenevolent and all-knowing and all-powerful and cause unnecessary suffering. Natural disasters are unnecessary. By your own words, God didn't have to do that. He didn't have to create the world with the natural disasters. He chose the world with natural disasters, which means he created unnecessary suffering.
Okay, well, I can even steel man this argument for you. I've got it written out. So can you see my screen? It's blank.
Well, no, I can't see your screen.
Conclusion. Okay, well, I thought I said I shared it. Okay.
I don't know if you know this. We're not in a philosophy classroom. Nobody cares about philosophy here. The deeper you dig into philosophy speak, the dumber you look here. You don't look smart here.
A deductive syllogism will clear up the air, and
it certainly won't.
In circles. Yeah, because it's a direct path to a conclusion. And
your deductive syllogism's only going to reinforce the nonsense that you've already said so far, which is incoherent.
Okay. Well, let's demonstrate that then. Premise 1 will say, if God is omniscient, he would know how to stop all evil. Premise 2.
Nope, that's not my question. I've never once said that God should, I've never once made the argument that God should stop all evil. I'm talking about one very specific thing that he doesn't need to stop. He created it. He designed it. So again, you're addressing something I'm not talking about.
Well, then you give your premises then, because I honestly cannot see how you're getting from that to a conclusion.
It's not hard. All powerful, all loving.
Okay, write this down. Is this premise 1?
An all powerful, all loving being does not create unnecessary suffering.
Does not create unnecessary suffering.
Because part of being all good requires that you always do the best possible thing.
Okay, an all-powerful, all-loving being does not create unnecessary suffering. Okay, that's a claim. So what's premise 2?
Premise number 2 is that natural disasters are unnecessary.
Natural disasters are unnecessary suffering.
Premise 3 is that God is the cause of natural disasters. Okay,
premise 3, God causes natural disasters.
Conclusion, God causes unnecessary suffering, which means you've got to abandon one of the omni-properties of God. Either he didn't know about it, or he has no control over it, or he's just not all good.
God causes unnecessary suffering. Okay, and that's obviously, unnecessary suffering is normally just termed gratuitous suffering. Okay, so let me look at this. All-powerful, all-loving being does not create unnecessary suffering. Okay, so premise 2, natural disasters are unnecessary suffering. Okay. Okay, so let's look at unnecessary suffering, right? So I believe we can have necessary evils for a greater good. Okay, so for example, if a doctor cuts off a man's leg, that's an evil. But if he cuts it off to stop gangrene killing him, that's a necessary evil for a greater good.
Right, but
So
let me give you a better example, because I'm not talking about necessary suffering. I'm talking about unnecessary suffering. So if the same doctor who comes in to take care of your gangrene, if he walks in and pokes you in the eyeball and then he performs the surgery, he's not 100% good, is he?
No, you're right. So,
because the poke in the eyeball is not necessary. Okay, I'm saying that the natural disasters are not necessary.
Okay, yes, I knew we were going to go, so I just want to finish my thought. So you accept, though, that there can be necessary evils for a greater good. You accept that, but you're saying in this case, this is not the case, okay?
I've never said that necessary suffering couldn't exist. Certainly there are cases where suffering is necessary.
Okay, so you do agree. I'm just going down through the principles. You agree with the principle that there are necessary evils for a greater good. But your argument is that natural evils are not necessary evils for a greater good. So that's what your argument is, right?
What I'm saying is that natural disasters aren't necessary.
Okay, yes, I understand. My position is, when God, because you were using modal logic earlier, that obviously gratuitous evil, right, can, in some cases, so some people will argue, yes, every act of evil has to have a direct relation to some greater good, right? I don't take that position. I take the position that there can be acts of gratuitous evil that are necessary, but the world itself ultimately comes to a greater good. Then had he picked a world where every act of evil was not gratuitous, right? So the evil, what can make evil very evil, is the fact that sometimes not all of it is necessary. But the fact is,
I'm waiting for you to tie this into why natural disasters are necessary.
Well, evils from the fall are necessary. I believe natural disasters are just one implementation of that.
But are they necessary?
They're a necessary consequence of a planet the way God designed it, and then the fall.
So yes, they're a consequence of the way God designed it.
Yes.
Could God have designed it to not have the natural disasters?
Well, had he designed the planet differently, there would have been a different type of evil. And
that's not answering my question. It's a yes or no. Could God have designed the planet so that it did not have natural disasters?
Perhaps, but then there would have been a different type of evil that's equivalent to the natural disaster.
Why?
Because however he designed the planet, once that planet had a crash...
That's still his decision.
Yes, but what you're saying is there could have been a planet that wouldn't have brought about a different type of evil that's less evil than the evil we've got here, but you don't have any evidence for that.
But no. You're the one making the positive claim that if natural disasters wouldn't exist, God would have to invent another evil. Well, he would have to invent another method of making people suffer gratuitously. Not only does that not help your argument, it makes God sound even worse. Now you're making God sound like an evil, vindictive bully that is required to fulfill like an unnecessary suffering quota.
Well, you're making a positive claim when you say it is the case. If I say it's not the case, yours is equally a positive claim. You're the one who said you could disprove Christianity 100%.
No. So follow me so far. If God could not create the planet, right, without the natural disasters, then he's just not all powerful. You got to you have to get rid of one of the omni-properties.
Well, let me ask you this thing. Are you saying he could have created a planet that there would be no consequences for the evil, for the fall? That there wouldn't be any consequences had there been a fall? So first of all, he could. But second of all, that's not my claim.
My claim is that there will never be consequences. That is not my claim. My claim is that the consequences he chose were unnecessary. The same reason if my son goes to school and punches somebody in the nose, I could ground him. I could make him go and apologize, or I could punch him in the nose. One of those three consequences is unnecessary. Which one is it?
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
Answer the question. Which one of those three is unnecessary?
Well, yeah, but you're
answer the question. Which one of those three is unnecessary?
I can't remember the actual options you gave me.
It's obviously the one that causes unnecessary suffering towards my son. If my son does something and I punish him, I'm choosing the consequence. I have control over the consequences. I don't have to make my son suffer in that particular way. Whatever I do to my son as a punishment is my decision. God's not required to have a punishment threshold once Adam and Eve sins.
Yeah, but you're implying though, because your original argument from the beginning is, has God made the best possible world? Okay, so let's start from the beginning. And I said,
Yeah,
yes.
I'd run away with from the actual argument too.
Yeah. So you said, has he made the best possible world? And I said, yes, I'll agree to that. Now what you're stating is, I know this is not the best possible world. I'm stating this, which is a big claim, because I don't think you're in an epistemic position to know if this is the best possible world or not, that if the evils that God's either directly given or permitted would result in a greater possible good or not. I don't think you know. And I don't think any human's in an epistemic position. I don't think you can get more than 50-50 on this one. If I make the claim it's untrue.
Disagree entirely. Listen, you're doing everything but laying down an argument against my argument. You're doing everything but addressing what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that an omnipotent deity could make the world in such a way that it does not have natural disasters and doesn't have an additional quota of evil to meet the same requirement of natural disasters. God doesn't have to do that, does he?
Okay, what you're saying is I'm in an epistemic place to know that
Nope. I'm asking you a logical question. I'm asking you a logical question, not a knowledge question. It's a logical question because all powerful beings aren't required to do anything. That's why this is an omni-paradox. Because the minute you say God has to do something, you're admitting that he's not omnipotent. And we go round and round on the omni-paradox carousel. Are we on point? Which omni are we at now? Which one? I think we've gone through the omni-paradox 5 times.
Well, I don't think you've proven your argument premise is more than 50-50 at all. So I don't know how you got.
Listen, nobody's doing a Bayesian analysis here. This is not a percentage we're doing here. Well, I'm showing you that your worldview entails logical inconsistency. Your worldview entails a contradiction, which means you now have to go back and fix that contradiction. There's a couple ways you can fix the contradiction. You can get rid of one of the omni properties of God, or you can say that maybe God doesn't know something, or like the way he knows things is that he's finding out in real time. Like there's a couple ways to fix it, but you have to fix it one way or another.
No, because when I wrote out the Steelman argument, which you didn't give me, I actually list out that God's omniscient, omnibenevolent, and omnipotent. And then I show.
Then he can't create natural disasters.
Well, how? So if we have the position of a necessary evil for greater good, how do you know?
He'll never get it.
How do you know natural disasters are not necessary evil for greater good?
It's an irrelevant question because it has nothing to do with whether or not I know that natural disasters can be used to create good. The question is whether or not God could accomplish the good without the natural disasters. Can God accomplish the good that he wants to accomplish without natural disasters?
Well, I don't think either.
It's a yes or no question. Can he accomplish the good that he wants to accomplish without the natural disasters?
Well, if we believe this is the best possible world.
It's a yes or no question. Can God, then he's not all powerful.
Yes, he is, because all powerful then so your argument is this. Your argument is this.
Listen, just stop talking. You've cooked yourself so many times. I'm tired of going on the omni-paradox carousel. You're boring. The entire audience is bored of this conversation. We're not going to do this 500 more times, okay? You've already demonstrated that the omni-God is completely illogical and you're just being obtuse and you don't want to admit it. So I'm going to move on to an actual adult, okay?